it's a big day for all the KCSE candidates last year. Of course, today, awaiting their results. Remember that date was pushed back, or is it forward? It was meant to be tomorrow, and then they said that they will be releasing those results today. So we'll be, in a short while, talking to Catherine Omwanto, who's at Mitiani House. We'll also be linking up with some of my other colleagues around the country in our various bureaus to bring us up to speed with the expectation there, and also the challenges that were witnessed during that examination period. Cheating continues to be a key challenge in as far as national examinations are concerned. And in studio with us this morning to be able to just talk a little bit more about what plagues the education sector, but also the good that is in there, perhaps needs to be capitalized on, our two guests. Thank you very much for joining us this morning. Dr. Renson Mushiri, who is the Dean, KCA University School of Graduate Studies and Research. Also, Anne Gatanda is with us, Director of E-Learning at IBTM. Thank you both. A big day for candidates. Let's begin with the fact that, you know, a lot of people expecting their results today. In as far as the exam, the preparation stage, it being sat, what do you make of how NEC and the ministry at large has conducted itself so far?
I think they've done their best.
Yeah.
They've done the best they could with what they have, considering that we are an emerging nation and we still have to work towards proving ourselves in the education sector and learning from lessons learned in countries like Korea. We benchmark ourselves with the world, but also with the region. And so they really are just doing the best they can with what they have.
Yeah. You share the same thoughts, Dr. Hari?
Yeah, I think it's true. When we look at what for example, Kenya National Examinations Council is doing, I think they're doing the best they can. If we look at the Ministry of Education, I think they can do better in terms of driving the agenda of education. My thoughts is that we need a little bit more of input from research in terms of the policies that they drive. If you look a little bit back, you realize that quite a bit of our education policy has in many times been overshadowed by the political interests, even in the education. And so you look like, even like the COEG Commission, and very nice proposals in it, but because of political interests and maybe a bit of a conservatism, we refuse to take some of those ideas which I thought they were noble myself.
Okay. Yeah. When we say they're doing the best they can, that means that with the capacity, their mandates, they're fulfilling that, but somebody else is falling short. In your opinion, who is falling short? Who is not helping the education sector be up to where it's supposed to be?
Well, I agree with Dr. Hari here that it is the politicization.
Yeah.
And the time we learn, the time at which we will learn to delink politics with policies and start to actually implement and distance ourselves from personalization and making things all political. That time we will be able to allow the technocrats to actually do their work. Because I believe that the technocrats are actually technical experts, but we do not really give them a chance to do their work as much as they should.
Well, absolutely. I was going to start with, from where it's been a big day, for Lupita, and I asked this before. And the question that every time today, we'll have candidates who will get, an outstanding A minuses and all these good results. But mostly we get from them is, I want to be a pilot, I'd like to be a doctor, an engineer of some sort. But Lupita showed us something, that it's possible also that arts is a career and it can pay.
Actually, it was very interesting to see some results that in a website, in a big American university website, showing the jobs that you would get from different fields. And the top field was business. You could earn $62,000 from doing business a year as a first beginning salary. And the second one was ICT at $53,000 a year. And the third one was architecture at $41,000 a year. So business was right there at the top. And in business, we mean marketing, we mean communications. So that was very interesting.
I don't know what are your thoughts on this.
I think when I look at our education space, I think we have neglected a certain area, and I think Sophia asked us some good questions. Somebody somewhere is failing. I usually don't like pointing fingers. When you do that, 3 fingers are pointing at you.
Let's point all of the fingers this way. Yes,
So you see, I would like to see more of input of research in our education sector.
Okay.
For example, when you are coming up with policies, what kind of research is going into it? And I look at, for example, the American education. Well, at the lower levels, it may not be the best, but still, if you look at what they do, there is a lot of research that goes into it in terms of what roles each person is playing and how that impact. So by the time they reach a point of arriving at a certain policy, there is data that they are relying on.
Yeah.
Now, most of the things that I know in the Kenyan sector, we have been accused, I'm a researcher myself,
Right.
but we've been accused of doing research and placing it somewhere in the shelf where it gathers dust.
Yeah.
But as much as that is true, we need to see the policy makers also reach out to us and be able to find out what we have there that they can use and can help. I think also that in terms of glorifying examinations, I mean, you got this grade, and
we do quite well in that area. Glorifying examinations.
Yeah.
So it's the end game for everyone.
Yeah.
But if you ask yourself and you look back and we do some analysis, all those students that scored, let's take for example KCPE, they scored all those high marks. How many of them have ended up winning a prize in science, for example, in another area? Actually, if you look at it, you realize that most of the awards that you hear about Kenyans are actually in the sector like what we have seen in Lupita. I mean, we need to reinforce our alternative, to look at all sides and all directions of education.
Right.
We don't need to glorify one thing. And I am also thinking that if I look at education, there is what we call, I don't know whether this term is going to be appropriate here, basic research versus applied research. When we do basic research, we are looking at the future. We are not looking at today's problems. We are doing it for knowledge sake. If we look at applied, we are addressing the problems currently we have, and we want to get solutions for it. We need to address both of them, which means, therefore, in our education sector, we need also to focus on the technical aspect of it. We need to look at what is on offer for this group that doesn't make it to the university. Are we saying that they have nothing in their hands? They've got a lot. We need to tap into that energy. They may not be able to do the math, but they know some of them will do some good job for you. They will do some very good plumbing for you.
Yeah.
And you see, if you want today to get a good electrician, I don't know whether you've constructed, and try to get a good electrician, and you're in trouble.
Or a plumber for that
Or
matter.
a plumber for that case. Or even a mason. You build a house and the next day you find it's full of cracks. Why? We do not, even what we are offering in this technical schools or technical colleges, we have got a problem. We need to be able to have the resources to get these people to do the work that they can and develop those skills so that they can be the best that they can be with that skill that they have. So let's look at all sides. I don't want to put away the brilliant minds. We have for them, we can tunnel them to academia and to other those very high and maybe more knowledge-based subjects. But this other group also, which is the majority, has got a lot to offer, and actually is the one that will drive the development of our economy.
Absolutely. And education is supposed to prepare the country and a workforce for what the country is aspiring to be. Countries train their people to what they are good at, so that they come and help in nation building.
Exactly.
In this country, for the last 50 years, what have we trained people to do that helps the nation building of this country?
Well, the country has had a 100-year history of education, first of all. We've got to understand that. And the white people came to train a white-collar workforce to serve in the colonial world. And therefore, that is what they were preparing them for. What we have had needed to do as we have evolved is to understand our needs as a nation, and therefore we need to respond to those needs.
We've never responded.
And we need to respond to them faster because we're a global village now, and we cannot afford to just be doing run-on-the-mill what has been going on. And it's very important for us to, as I keep saying, benchmark ourselves with what's going on around the world and tap into what we are calling the 21st century skills. To know that in the 21st century, what are the skills that are going to be required, so that when we are talking about a workforce that we are feeding into the 21st century, who are they and what are their skills? And instead of focusing so much on exams and we're just giving
just
over this, going through the system, what exactly is it that we need to be working on? What kind of human beings are we looking to create? And the 21st century skills, interestingly enough, actually hardly have very, very technical needs. Apart from ICTs, the rest are actually collaboration, communication, the art of being a human being.
They're the soft skills.
The soft skills, the art of being a human being. That's what's required now.
And just to bring in Dr. Mushiri on the same, on the question of whether the needs are being met, does the system need to be changed? Is it broken? Does it need fixing? Because 50 years on, we're kind of at 50, but we're still talking about the same cheating issues, and now they're getting bigger and worse. Now we're getting into mobile, phones as well being used, and teachers and university students being, accused of being part of this menace.
Well, cheating is not just a Kenyan problem. It happens everywhere. How we manage it is more important. And the other thing is that because we have put such a huge premium on the exams, if I don't get a C+, I'm just in the school of reject. I am nobody in this society. I have to be very resilient to be able to make it anywhere. And because of that, I have to do everything that it takes so that I can get that C, include the C+, including the cheating.
So what do we do to change that the premium is not so much on the...
I think we need to remove that premium and try to attenuate that premium we have placed on the exams. We need to make sure that we communicate that if you fail to get a C+, there is life after that. For example, if we go a little bit back, I don't think our education has always been very bad. I think if we look a little bit back, we had the technical schools. When I was in school, there were some guys, when we finished our study 7, we will go to technical schools. And those people would be taught vocational training. You are still bright, but you'll be taught some things like woodwork, metalwork, and all those things. So when somebody leaves the Form 4 and you have not been able to make it to the university, you got some skills which you can apply to do some work. The next thing that we need to do is we need to live up to this challenge and notice where we are going. 50 years ago, our needs are different from what we are now. If you look, the society, the youth is talking to us. It is, right now when we talk, it is entertainment. The apps, it's big business. The gaming is big business. But we are still telling our children, we need you to be a doctor. When you see your child is trying to be a musician, as a parent, you feel, this boy is getting lost. This person has a talent. You need to pick it up and encourage it and look for a place to enhance it. And then today, well, to make your point, it has to be the biggest demonstration today of Lupita Nyong'o, who's the dad who's an academician. And he could have easily, tell the daughter, you can't be acting and I'm a professor here, it just doesn't work. You need to go and be a doctor or something like that. But it's just that big demonstration, just to reinforce on your point, that we have to let our young people and put resources and infrastructure for them so that they can be whoever and whatever they want to be.
And another solution, Sophia, really is to increase schools. One of the issues that we've had is in year 8, when people finish standard 8, they all want to go to the 5 national schools. We don't have enough schools for people to feed into. And this is why there is a need for people
And that's where that's another big problem, that it appears that the government, ever since the creation of this country, has been abdicating its duty to educate its people, so that in class 8 we drop 300,000. Today you're going to drop possibly another 200,000.
True.
It becomes a norm. For us, it's okay. We have limited space, so we have no need to train you further because you didn't attain certain grades.
And because what you've also said on we're not building schools. What we're doing is what we already have. We're transitioning them to national schools, but we're not solving the bigger problem. We're still rotating in the same cycle, right?
And I think, and I know the educationists in this country know better than myself, that the prime objective of education is to address the whole being of the society. And you see now, when we tunnel just one side, we are leaving a whole big problem on the other side, creating a problem. Education is supposed to be wholesome.
Holistic,
Okay? So we need to look carefully in the mirror and ask ourselves, is this what we want to be with our education? Because our education molds what we will be. Okay, so we need to look at that. Now, coming back to the issue of schools, I do agree we need more schools, but we also need to look at the other side. Who is teaching in our schools? Who taught your child in kindergarten? Who started teaching your child math? When we talk about math performance, English for the other matter, and all those other subjects. Now, what happens is that if you cannot make it to go to this level, okay, teaching is the last lesson, the place you want to go, okay? But if you go to countries that have placed premium on education, France, if you go to Japan, if you go to US, you find that at kindergarten, the people teaching that child is a person with a PhD. A master's guy teaching these people.
Because that's where it matters most.
That's where it matters most. That's why you're even identifying the talent. The other thing, I find, like when I took my girl to school for kindergarten, 3 years, the first thing they were being taught is counting and all that. But at that point, you want the child to learn how to appreciate and to see things in the environment, to construct things. And when you see now, when they come, they're just memorizing 1 + 1 is 2 and all those things. So by the time they're in class 5, you're taking them from 1, and you put from class 1, you put a lot of pressure on this child, okay? And so the other bit of the child is left out. So we need, therefore, to look from the bottom, because we start complaining about performance. Maybe high school, we say, oh, mathematics is bad. But it begins from the very base of our education.
Yes, and just to, you can help us in this, in e-learning. And I think this is what a new kind of education should start, to come. So that the next problem is that parents, really hustling town, if you like, 5 in the morning you're out, come back at 10 at night. You have no time for your child and for the growth and for the education of your children. So how does e-learning or new ways and new techniques of education can help parents to be involved in their children's life?
For example, IBTM, the program that I run at IUPS in Orero University, that program is meant to skill the teacher in ICT integration. And that means that the teacher needs to become a professional who integrates the use of technologies in their learning and teaching. And if they integrate technologies, then what happens is that they become more enhanced in their teaching. And so I really do agree with you, Daktari, that indeed the skilling of the teacher is key, and how much we put into the teacher is key. And I would encourage the nation to actually comply or accept the use of ICTs in the teaching and learning, because really that does enhance and create interest in learning and increase the resources that one could access that would otherwise be limited in a traditional setting. And so for me, that is another area that we do need to not fight so much or not politicize so much. Those are some of the issues that I find are a problem when we over-politicize or over-fight or be over-pessimistic about things that are developmental. And so I do really say that the ICT projects, even though not ideally implemented all the time, should be encouraged.
They should.
Yeah.
Right, and of course we'll also want to hear your thoughts about tying that in with the laptops. There's been a whole conversation on that.
Yeah.
It has not yet kicked off. January was supposed to be that day we see the likes of little James Smart joining school
Yes.
with laptops, but the kids are still
They're waiting.
They're
Waiting for
waiting.
the laptops.
And of course, as we promised earlier, we have our reporters on the ground. Rita Tinina is joining us from Mitihani House. We also have Mercy Kandia live for us all the way from Eldoret, and to bring us up to speed with what's happening, what is, of course, to expect, especially from Mitihani House. Cabinet Secretary Kaimenyi will be announcing those results. And remember, it's over 450,000 candidates that are awaiting the results today. And www.knec, that's nec.ac.ke, is where students, candidates will be able to access their results. All you need to do is log in onto that website and key the index numbers, okay? And you'll be able to get the results. Also, by sending a text message with the index number 22252, but this after the results have been officially announced. Immediately after Professor Kaimenyi is done with that particular exercise, then sending a text message with your index number to 22252, you'll be able to access the results. This exercise was to happen tomorrow, that is Tuesday. It was pushed to today, and we'll be hearing from Rita Tinina shedding some light for us why that happened. But quite a number of issues again from the exams last year. You remember the cheating incidents, and as they were being addressed, we did hear from the NEC boss, Paul Wasanga, who actually leaves office after this particular release of examinations. He's been at the helm of NEC for 8 years, but he did talk about the issue of cheating, and that now it had attained a whole different face and angle, using technology, mobile phones in cheating as well, and the inclusion and involvement of teachers and some university students being alleged to have been part of that. There were arrests made. So this is just some of those issues that we saw emerging last year, and today we'll get the statistics. Of course, it will be a huge moment. Like Lupita, there will also be a very happy girl, a very happy boy being #1 and top in the country today. But also with our guests in studio, as we await to link up with Rita Tinina, who's at Mitihani House, and Mercy Kandia, who's in Eldoret, just taking us through some of those challenges and issues that are in our education sector. And my director will alert me once we have them ready and we can talk to them. But just back to the conversation, it really then is a number of things. It needs a multi-pronged approach to deal and clean up the mess in the education sector, right?
Yeah, and I want to point out something.
Yeah.
There's some group of people we forgot here. They are called parents.
Yes.
And one of the shocking things is how we parents in this country have abdicated our responsibility. And if we think that the teacher is the person who is responsible for the education of your child, but the teacher and the first teacher of the child is the parent, all the way until that child is independent, maybe 18 years and above. What the problem I have is the parent just picks this child, dumps them in the school. They don't know about what happens in the school. At home, the child is being taken care of by a house help. And so they are so disconnected with the development of the child, they are not even interested with what the child is learning in school. Parents ought to be part of the learning process. They need to talk to the teachers. They need to understand why the child is doing this or that.
Correct.
Actually, I have the benefit of having had some education elsewhere and also seeing how they do it. For example, in the US, the parent is part and parcel. If the child misbehaves in school, the first person to deal with the case is not the teacher, it's the parent. If you are unable to manage the child at home, don't take the problem to school. The problem we have right now, parents want their children to perform, they give the duty to the teacher, and then they also engage in cheating. They help their children to cheat.
Yes.
And that is problematic.
And that is problematic.